Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Classroom, a closer look at those here at Windermere Prep. I'm joined today by Dr. Leslie Williams, high school English teacher. How are you doing today, Dr. Williams?
Fine, thank you.
Let's start at the beginning. Tell me, where were you born?
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Surprisingly, that's where I was born. But then I only stayed there for the first 2 years of my education, and then I moved down to Pensacola, Florida for the 3rd grade until about 5 years ago.
Tell me a little bit about your schooling early on. What were some of your favorite subjects in school?
PE. That was definitely my favorite because I just like to play all the time. Aside from that, I loved reading. So English wasn't necessarily my favorite subject. I did like math quite a bit, but I would say those two are my go-to. But PE definitely was my favorite, just to let loose in.
What were some of the activities that you participated in back in school?
Well, in school, it was more of track, and that was early on. But then as I got older, I did a little bit of softball, volleyball, those types of things. But outside of school, but still school age, it was gymnastics. I did that for 9 years competitively, and that consumed all of my time. So I didn't really have much time for anything else, which was fine.
Tell me about some of your friends growing up in school.
I was always with an eclectic group of friends. Nobody was the same. Everybody brought their own different flares to the table. But we were all good kids. There wasn't anyone who tested the boundaries too much. I mean, that's what we do as children most of the time. So, but a lot of my things that I did were church-based. So, that Christian influence was what drove a lot of my high school experience mainly. So, yeah, but a good group of kids growing up.
Anyone in particular that you looked up to back in school?
There is one teacher, well, two. Both of them were English teachers, or I should say are English teachers. One of them, she was surprised that I became an English teacher, and I don't think just, that she was surprised that because I was a bad student or a good student or anything like that. She just didn't realize that I had gotten older while she stayed the same. So we happened to be walking into a workshop together for English teachers at the beginning of a school year, and it was at a high school. And so she said, "Oh, what grade are you in now?" I said, "Well, actually, I'm coming to the workshop with you because I'm an English teacher now." And so she was pleasantly surprised. And then that was my 7th and 8th grade English teacher. My 4th grade English teacher was also a big influence, and every time I go home to Pensacola, somehow, some way, I end up running into her. And she still looks the same. She's still just as wonderful as she was back then. But those two, just because of their teaching styles and everything, they were the best teachers that I had.
Did you have any jobs when you were back in school?
I did. Whenever I was in, my first job actually was when I was in 7th grade, I believe, and I graded papers for a teacher. So, and she was a 4th grade teacher, and so it was in something easy just to, correct the papers very easily and then go through. But that was my very, very first job. After that, I was a gymnastics coach. So after I stopped taking gymnastics, then I started coaching. And it was from kids who were 2 years old all the way up to those who were in high school. Also, so I was coaching peers, actually. And so it was girls that were on the team. There were cheerleaders involved. So it was just a different group. But that was pretty nice. And then my 3rd job was a job at Quincy's, which is it's like the old Ryan's or a steakhouse type of thing where I was just a cashier and sometimes had to be a server. And that wasn't the best of jobs, but I got free food. So
Quincy's, don't they have the big
fat yeast roll?
That's right, okay.
Yeah, I indulged on every one of them.
It brings us to around college time. Where did you go to college and where did you study?
I went to University of West Florida. My first major was electrical engineering. Didn't work out so well. Okay. Then I went to business, and then I went to English, and that's where I fell in love with, knew what I wanted to do with my life. Actually, whenever I started in the English degree program, I decided that I wanted to be a copy editor. And, I was gung-ho in that direction, and I worked in the school's writing lab, and, I just really I love grading papers in terms of just marking them up for grammar, because it's just my eye just catches those things. But as I continued through, that's when I shifted toward the education side of it. So my degree was in English with a focus in literature, And then I did the master's at UWF also in education, and that was secondary education. So I got my master's in that and then went through, graduated, and then started the PhD program at Capella and did that, finished that up.
And what was the driving force behind getting your PhD?
Well, I was helping one of my friends. She was in the PhD program also, education, same university, and she said, well, if you're sitting here, marking up my papers for me and it's so easy for you, why don't you just do one too? And I said, well, yeah, I am a pretty good writer. I may as well, just knock it out. And so talked to my dad, and he encouraged me to do it, encouraged me financially as well, so that always helps. So I just decided to stick with the course. And knowing that my children were young and weren't involved with a lot of sports or anything just yet, that I knew that if I got it taken care of now, then I wouldn't have to worry about it later and trying to find time or sacrifice family time. So
Now, you mentioned family time. Tell me a little bit about your family.
Well, I have Coach Williams, Sherrod Williams. He's here, and and so he's been here as long as I have teaching. He's in the middle school, and then I have 3 little boys, and they are Mason, Jaden, and Xavier. They are 7, 8, and 10, and they are all boy and go nonstop all day, every day, and really enjoy just our family, how we like to spend a lot of time together. As much as they like to go off with their grandparents and everything, they enjoy the time that we get to spend together. So, and it's not that we do all these great and fantastic, wonderful things, but just, let's go out and play football. Let's go out and play basketball, just things like that. That's what they love about our family.
So I see you out running every now and again. Does the fact that you have 3 boys, some may actually say 4,
Yes.
when you throw Coach Williams into that, does that kind of keep you in shape for cross country and then track as well, chasing
Yes,
after them?
Absolutely. I mean, if I don't do something for me, I won't be able to keep up with them. So I have to do it. Now they're reaping the consequences because they run with me. They don't have a choice. And it's not always, but sometimes I do drag them out there with me on the trail because it's healthy for them. So I don't mind it at all. And ultimately, they don't mind either because it's teaching them right from wrong in terms of what they need to do to be their best.
What are some of your favorite activities to do?
Besides running? Well, okay, so running, any kind of exercise actually, and then I'm big into movies. My favorite movies are sports movies, any kind of sports movie, it doesn't matter. Even the bad ones, I love them too. I love reading, of course, although I don't get as much time as I would like to be able to do that, but reading is another biggie. And then I love food, a lot of food, and a lot of different restaurants. Both Coach Williams and I are foodies. We enjoy different restaurants, different experiences, that type of thing. So as much as people think that we always eat salads or something like that healthy, we're not that couple. We like to indulge in the right kinds of foods.
So finally, where do you picture yourself in 10 years?
10 years. That's hard to really pinpoint because I see there's so many different options right now. But within 10 years, my boys will all be graduated and moved away from home. So depending on what successes bring their way in terms of colleges and scholarships or whatever, that might determine where I go. But in addition to that, I love being a high school teacher, so I might still be in the high school classroom or a college professor, making sure that the teachers of the future are doing what they need to do and are ready for today's students.
Dr. Williams, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down and chat with me about your life beyond the classroom.
Thank you.